Jude, Stephen.
I've been racing 4 years, 3 years professionally. I started at 5 years old and I'm 9 years old.
Jude's racing career began at the age of 7 at the JRG3 Ambassador Racing School. Jude was immediately identified as an up-and-coming star, winning his first race and only his second start.
The owner of the racetrack invited us over for Jude to start driving their rental go-karts. Even though he was 5 and nowhere near tall enough, he let Jude ride the go-karts. He put a couple fabrication pedal blocks on so Jude could reach the pedals. And Jude started racing at just 5 years old at, around their outside go-kart track.
I went to Ambassador Racing School and JR and JR's dad, they taught me about what flags and how to drive, how to turn, and how to hit the gas pedal when they hold the yellow flag and go do it in circles. And I just kept on trying and I kept on a little bit spinning out, but then I finally did good at one of these places, the Grand Prix, and that's how it all started, from the racing school to now.
Jude was a natural. After a short stay in the rookie class, he was kicked out for winning too much.
Well, I like how sometimes I road race and sometimes I go in circles, and I like how they do the checkered flag and the audience claps and I pass and push and all that and win.
But before he even began his career, Jude came head-to-head with hardships that would give him the courage to face the challenges of racing.
Jude's mother, Michelle, she was 41 years old. She died of a stroke. She had a stroke and literally collapsed in front of Jude. It was a stroke in which the brain stem arteries, there was a clot in there. It was a clotting type of a stroke. She was taken to the hospital. She was given a surgery. And in the middle of the night, recovering from that, had another stroke, and that stroke was a hemorrhagic stroke that caused a lack of blood flow to the brain, and it pretty much destroyed her cerebellum. A couple of weeks later, she was alive, excuse me, she was alive 3 weeks in the hospital, and the third and final stroke was a massive hemorrhagic stroke that just flooded her brain with blood, and she passed away that night at 41 years old.
I missed her laugh and her voice and her prosperity.
He doesn't get the main thing is the mother deals, the mother dances at the school, the things with a mother. As far as, he gets a lot of the things that a lot of kids don't have. He gets a lot of love from me. I think mainly the family stuff, the picnics and things like that we miss out on, the mother and father and son and maybe another couple of families doing things. We have a very supportive family, but there's just no making up for a mommy.
Losing your mother is hard enough on a kid, but Jude soon found out that if he didn't have the courage to take action, he may also lose his father.
The last time that I really remember being conscious was when I was speaking with my mother.
That was 9:30 on a Saturday morning. The next thing Danny Steffen remembers is his 5-year-old son Jude shaking him awake at 7:30 that night.
I could not move. Every muscle, I was just sitting still. I couldn't move whatsoever.
You're talking funny like Japanese.
Danny is a diabetic and was suffering a severe hypoglycemic reaction and was close to slipping into a coma. Jude describes what his dad looked like.
Like that.
And Danny says he didn't sound much better.
And I was trying to tell him juice. I was going Jew, Jew, Jew like that, and that's all I could get out.
Jude eventually figured out what his dad meant. He went to the fridge and got his dad some juice packs.
I got him four juices that he drank 4 of them, and I squeezed them in his mouth.
Then Jude came up with the idea to hand feed his dad cupcakes.
They put him up and I'm licking the frosting off of him, and then he, after I licked the frosting off, he started literally hand feeding me the cupcakes. And then after that, I said honey, and he went to the bedroom to get me some honey. I gotta keep it next to my bed in case I go into a reaction at night.
After all that, Danny finally had enough strength to sit up. He had Jude get his phone, and together they called Danny's mom, who then called 911.
A kid that I'll be thinking about for a long time. I really appreciate what he did. He was very humble about it, and I think he took it all in stride. I don't think he quite understood just how great a thing he had done until we pointed out that he was a hero.
The paramedics who responded say Danny was doing fine when they arrived, thanks to Jude's quick actions. Because Jude's mom died last September, the father and son now rely on each other more than ever.
If he wouldn't have done what he had done and panicked and just got scared and just sat there and cried, yeah, I would have died.
And Danny says it's good to know he has a hero on his side. With an extra on Everyday Heroes, Lee Moody, Bay News 9.
Jude was Danny's hero that day, but the relationship of father and son off the track changes on race day.
Jude and I have a very unusual relationship at the track. We don't act like father and son, we really act like crew chief and driver.
When I'm racing, my dad he tells me to watch people that are are way better than me, more experienced, and that I should stand where the fence is and watch the other people race, and that whenever he talks to me, I should just come to him and he'll talk to me what happens or what he wants me to do.
There's been some arguments, there's been some disagreements. We always iron it out, and he's being only 9, it's kind of hard for him to understand that the more information that he gives me, the more accurate information that he gives me, I can tune that cart to however he's telling me it's handling.
The most important thing my dad taught me about racing is to never give up and always try my best.
And Jude never did give up, even after losing his mother and saving his father's life.
Too heavy, too light, too black or too white, too wrong or too right, day after night, cumbersome. Too rich or too poor, she's wanting me less and I'm wanting her more. A bitter taste is come, so
The fastest I ever gone was over 70 miles an hour, and I was 8, and it felt awesome because I liked when I passed the people. It was kind of cool because I'm like, When I go out to race, I try my best and it's a whole lot of fun.
Jude and Danny were on the fast track to success, winning races, championships, and facing down every challenge that came their way. But challenges, especially on the racetrack, never seemed to end. Jude and Danny would both find out that in the spring of 2013.
Unfortunately, back at the beginning of the year, we were at a big national event, and he was involved in a very serious crash. I mean, to the point where they wanted to take him by helicopter to the hospital. The track owner had seen it and was running down from the flag tower to have the flagman throw a caution, but by the time he got down there, it was too late. Jude had come around the corner and his head just went over, and his foot stuck to the floor, and he was wide open and went into a multiple tire barrier at full throttle. There's lots of people right there when it happened, never lifted off of the gas, and it just threw the cart back, literally bounced the cart back. Just one direction, 61 miles an hour, and then instantly another direction backwards. So the whiplash effect was just horrible for the kid. It ripped his helmet off of his head and threw the helmet back out onto the track. Lacerated the top of his head. It was a horrible night. And I remember thinking, what have I done to my child? I mean, it's the worst feeling in the world. And unfortunately, he was okay. All the CAT scans and x-rays turned out, negative. But it was a scary incident.
Well, I went around and my head was bobbling like this, and a kid hit me and I bobbled a little bit, and 2 laps after, I just went in there, I hit and I spun around and the helmet just flew off my head, and I was like this when I was hurt. I was breathing heavily like this. I couldn't stop breathing like that, and then when my dad showed me a picture that I had 3 staples in my head, the doctor didn't even tell me I was getting staples. My dad just said I was getting 100 staples, and I was like, oh no.
At that point, the crew chief and the racer were gone. I mean, at that moment, that was a father and son out on the track, and that's when, I mean, the first thing that came into my mind is what have I let my son do, or what have I done to my son? You know, it's a very dangerous sport, and you know, you think that if you prepare properly, those things won't happen, and it was a reality that they do happen no matter how well you're prepared you are. I mean, things at those speeds, any little thing can happen. And it was just all father at that point. You know, racing was just a hurt little boy and a father concerned for the safety of his son, because at that point we didn't know, was there internal damage, was there internal bleeding, there was blood all over the back of the seat, they were afraid to move him, we didn't know how bad the injuries were, and the not knowing was the worst part.
But the Jude Steffen story wasn't close to being finished. Jude would come back from this accident just 2 weeks later and prove to be stronger than ever.
My first race after my wreck, I really wanted to win this so I can get my hope back up, because I wasn't hoping on winning, but I really wanted to try, and I really wanted my dad to be happy about me.
Just 2 weeks prior, a horrible accident. I mean, I had butterflies in my stomach the whole time. But he just, from the practices to the heat race to the feature race, he was just dominating out there. I mean, he was just out there, and I think more so than anything, it proved to himself that, this isn't going to beat me. I'm not going to be afraid. I know the risks. I know that there's, potential things that can happen, and I can get hurt. But he went out there and pretty much proved to himself that he can get through it. He conquered a fear. That had to be a big fear. A lot of kids don't come back from that stuff. I've seen a lot of accidents that weren't even near that bad, where the families never came back and raced. The track owner, I think he said in 22 years owning the track, that's the worst one he's ever seen. So for him to be that resilient at 9 years old was just amazing.
Jude can and will continue to win these races, but Danny can only pay for and do so much for Jude. This is where we need you, the sponsor.
Well, the sponsorship would help because, we're working with used equipment. Our used equipment is beating a lot of brand new equipment, but it's, it's a struggle financially. I mean, there's times an electric bill, and I've had people tell me how irresponsible I'm being, but I'm doing this so my son has a future, and, you're going to have to make some sacrifices somewhere down the line. Or all the way through the line, and the sponsorship will help with paying the cost of the racing, hopefully maybe paying me a little bit of money to work on the karts and let us travel to more national events across the United States, because ultimately we want him to be able to race GTP cars, Formula One cars, Sprint Cup cars. The options are wide open.
I would get a trailer, I would get a better kart stand, I will get engines, I'll get better gear, I'll get a better go-kart, and it just means a lot to me.
It would take the limitations away to, there's lots of times that I could have things done for us with financial backing that I wouldn't have to do myself. It would give us more time together. It would allow us more time to work on the karts together. More often than not, I'm in such a hurry because I've got so much to do. We've got 4 karts, primarily 1, but I've got so much to do, and he wants to help, and it just takes 4 or 5 times as long with me working full time and having to take care of the house. Like a lot of times I could have the tires already prepped for us, just go to the track and pick them up. I could have the cart set up, and so it would free up a lot of time so we could have more father and son time together.
Become a member of the Jude Steffen Racing Team. Become a sponsor today by calling Danny Steffen at 727-288-1529 or emailing jsteffen115@tampabay.rr.com.